Hey folks, Valentin the Mad here, and today we're gonna be looking at ReAgdoll mod by Fantasiado. It is an active ragdoll physics mod for GMOD, so as you can expect, it is gonna be goofy, it is gonna be fun, and let's get right into it and see what we have. Okay, we're on the Italy map and let's have our first victim here. He's the lucky one. And yeah, of course, it is most fun when we have objects and uneven surfaces around, so you can get some pretty cool results. And as you can see, yeah, you do very much have an active ragdoll, and with it being Gmod, of course it is very much a hit or miss. Mostly it's gonna look goofy, I think on practically whatever settings I tried, pretty much always looked goofy. But occasionally, you can get something decently realistic. And the mod is also very configurable, we will get to it later. So as I mentioned, it is particularly fun when we have objects around. And then there is also kind of a wound grabbing feature. As you can see, it is, once again, Gmod janky, but yeah, the character is going for the general injured area. She is grabbing it, and yeah, you do have the active ragdoll. Let's do a few more examples. Sometimes it can be very impressive acrobatic maneuvers, like look at that. It's pretty impressive stretching, and then he still is in the animation. And at the end they should get kind of yeah, the muscles do get lax. Here we go, yeah. But let's go on for a more standard shooting up a wall thing. And yeah, he is going for the stomach, which seems to be where the fatal hit was. And can vary, actually on a showcase, you can end the animation prematurely. So there you go. Just like in the movies, basically. As you probably heard, the mod also features screaming. You could actually see an issue here. So the mod features death faces, which is a good idea, of course, but there is just one problem. The death faces, they happen also when the character is in the active ragdoll. So you have a character kind of wiggling around and he has the death face. And just for a good measure, let's showcase on a flat surface. We'll do a few. Almost looks like a pledge ceremony. And as I mentioned, it can be a hit or miss. It can very often look quite goofy. It is GMOD, what can I expect? I do hope that in Sandbox, modders will be able to push it to less janky results. Let's see how this ends. Okay. Once again, GMOD, as you can expect. Haven't heard much screaming though. It is a feature of the mod. Basically comes with an additional mod for the screaming. Well, here we kinda go. An additional feature we have here is burning, so let's have a look at that. Put up a victim. So there is kind of a weird issue, I'm not sure what's up with that, but she can stand in the fire. Basically any NPC that I saw can stand in the fire, but if I move her, that's where we get the burning thing. And by the way, they also have stumbling for gunfire too. Usually not as lengthy as this. And there is a chart variation, which I'm not seeing yet, so I'll do a bunch more tests. But what is pretty consistent here is the screaming. Yeah. Okay, do we have a chart variation now? I think we might. Yes, here we go. And apparently it's a chart dismembered variation, yeah. How this happened? I swear I didn't take those off to eat. But basically, yeah, cooked, well done. Yeah, so the chart variation is also a feature of the mod, and let's go over the configs. So, in the main stuff, the more interesting parts are the death faces. I have the death face strength on pretty low, just to give a subtle effect, but let's showcase the default one, which is 1, just so we can see basically what it looks like. Okay, I was gonna be showcasing it there, but I figured I'm gonna be hanging dead characters, might as well do it in a basement. Just hang this guy. No meat hook prop to spice up the thing, but yeah, this is basically the Death Faces variation 1. Little exaggerated, so I usually went for that being on 0.70 something. And just for fun, let's push it all the way up. Alright, so this is Death Faces all the way up, and here we have some of the stumbling I mentioned. And as he's still wiggling, I'm gonna put him on the hook. So yeah, this is death faces all the way up, and as you can see, you do have the static death face as the animation is playing. Let's have a look at the rest of the 2.0 death face. Yeah, so this kind of thing you usually have. You have people doing duck face on photos on purpose. So yep. That also have very much seen on photos on purpose. How about this guy? So those are the death faces, and this is my basement. And that's for the other configs, so let's see here. We have one for the fire effects. That body is cleanup. In terms of physics, yeah, we have the physics push, explosion physics push. What if we really lower that and see what that does? So basically like this, and shoot him with the revolver. So that's an option, if you want a somewhat more... Oh, I see what it's doing, so... Because I'm on the minus, it's basically pulling him in. That is interesting, so... If I do it like this... And yeah, and he's entirely unbothered by always seeing. Brave soul. So yeah, so anywhere around the 0 in the physics config, they basically just fall, and which reminds me, I gotta return the death faces to a more reasonable config. Here we go. So yeah, just one more like that. And then she basically falls. You know what, I do actually want to make a small experiment. So I make the pull all the way to -1. Do we get to see some magic here? Yes, yes. Basically, magic pulling. That's cool. Alright, moving on. So as for the Ragdolls config, let's see, fatal headshots. Ragdolls can die, we have seen it previously, and you can mess around with the Ragdoll health config. The blunt, I think it's how much blunt damage it delivers to the Ragdoll. Alright, so let's see. Bone break is quite unstable and very picky with Ragdolls. So what if I max it all the way that I can and see what happens to the bones? So let's say put a guy here. Alright, yeah. So let's say I put one here. Make it a fall and see what happens to the bones. Right, so I have heard a bone break effect, but I haven't really seen anything visual. Let's see. Let's see if there's any visual effect that I can see. I'll help him a little bit. Here we go. Yeah, I think it's primarily, at least in my impression, it is a sound effect. Alright, moving on, the holding wounds thing. We have showcased that. You can configure for how long the character can hold the wound. Alright, animation, force multiplier. It's basically the whole factor of active Ragdoll. So, in this playthrough and in the showcase which you have after the commentary, I basically have it all, I think, always on 1, the default settings, so let's just showcase it on the opposite ends of the extreme. So, as you can see here, he's barely moving. Do a few more. Yeah, so he's screaming, he's barely moving. That I think is the animation. I'll crank it up just a little bit more. And then here we have just kind of very minor, not exactly twitching, but yeah, so just a very minor thing. So if you perhaps want to go for something a tad more realistic and still have the characters kind of moving post-mortally, you can probably mess around in the lower end of the animation force multiplier. But if we crank it up to the maximum, let's see what happens. And yeah, he's on crack. And yeah, I can imagine instances where both of the extremes would be appropriate. So perhaps an optimal version of this would be some mix of both. Well, probably not this, probably not the rolling around, not the very intense breakdancing thing. But in some cases the very light twitching kind of thing. In other cases the very violent jerking. Not the breakdance. Yeah, the breakdance, I'm kind of having trouble imagining that being appropriate in any instance, but nice skills, like I can't do it. Like this, I can imagine being sometimes appropriate. Absolutely. And slowly fading away. Yeah, like, not bad to be honest. Just one more for good measure. Yeah, probably not the stumbling on crack. Yeah, I want a good one to end the that basically. Yeah. Pretty much. This will do. Oh, yeah. So we had the we had a bone snap during the Ragdoll. Yeah, I think I still have the bone multiplier set to max. Is that right? Where's the bone thing? Yeah, I had the bone damage multiplier set to max. Here we go. Alright, so what else do we have? Yes, so we can configure the minimum animation time, the maximum animation time, minimum and maximum burning time, the twitching thing, the stiffening thing, config for the sounds. Those are quite decent, and yeah. Here we go, that is what we have. As I mentioned, with it being in GMOD, it is pretty much a hit or miss. So sometimes the response can be, you know, go even slightly even go into a somewhat, dare I say, real zone. At other times it's just, yeah, breakdancing and can get really silly. So here is some additional showcase. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.
Freeman?
Freeman.